Bonjour and hello world, this is Robin from Europe and this is Europe's best and cheapest electric car at the moment. It's available from 23,300 euro. But is it a good value for the money? Let's find out. Well, at first you think, yeah, it's a cheap car, so it won't have a really fancy and luxurious design with all the bells and whistles. I really find it stylish, I have to say. Yeah, and especially when we look down a bit, you can see it has a presence and a bulky front. I'll just mention it as a precaution, one might expect it, but since it's about a good price, these are LED daytime running lights, LED headlights. So they're not installing any old halogen stuff or anything like that. And as I said, I really like it a lot already. Now let's go over to the side here. Sure, in the basic trim there are steel rims, but here in the max trim you get something noticeably fancier and more upscale. Here you see it on the side. We now have it in blue. There are various other colors available too. You probably saw the red version briefly in the intro as well. Here's also another color, quite similar to a white hue you see on this roof here, giving it a seamless look. Of course, that's only available in this larger max package where you get two different colors. Those are just a few details, but also such nice little details. Similar to this red-orange hue here, this stripe that suggests a bit of added speed and a bit of dynamic motion overall, providing an energetic touch. Come on, let's just go ahead and do it directly. Yeah, so zap. Look, there's also a tiny tool. You can actually remove them with it. Now I have here, these are called color clips, various ones. The German national flag doesn't exist. France, or we just do this here now. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Not just right here on the side. Let's go close it up. It looks really cool, but there's also an additional element down here. Can I remove that too? Or here on the side, I'm not sure. Oops, yeah, I mean, you can personalize accents, making it better suited to your unique style and preferences. Or maybe even come up with your own from the 3D printer or something like that. Here you can also see the rear. That really looks tip-top at first, so I truly like everything. There's even another wiper here. Not every rear window has that. All right, so far, I like everything. Now let's check if the trunk is also reasonably okay. It holds 310 liters, but I find such figures, they are obviously always tricky. That's why we always have our typical luggage with us. And I just have to say, I was surprised. I find the trunk really spacious. Look, we have two carry-on suitcases and two backpacks here. Here's even a bit of jackets and stuff. And if we take all of this stuff out, especially the larger items, you'll see there's plenty of space available here. It's also a bit of a downside because the loading edge, it's pretty steep. So I can't exactly put this on a flat surface, but instead it goes downward. But I actually think it's cool because that way not everything flies around in the trunk and so on. Yes, and as I said, I think that a surprising amount fits inside quite perfectly. Below that, there's truly nothing more to see. No, but that's perfectly all right for now. A light, yeah, just a basic parcel shelf, which can sometimes occasionally come off if handled roughly. Okay, but you also have to say that's a pre-production model. These are just test productions. That means some things might still be a bit lower in quality compared to the final version. But if I put everything back in now, you just have to say there's surely enough room for it all. To handle all the shopping you would reasonably expect from such a versatile car. I would even say you can actually embark on a truly proper journey with it if you'd like. I could now maybe fit another carry-on, maybe another one sideways. I even have 5 of those carry-ons, or maybe those large suitcases, 2 side by side. I could imagine that scenario working out, so therefore I find it absolutely fine. Now, of course, there are details again. Here I can adjust the back seat. Let me take this away. There. It's just cardboard anyway. That's how it feels at least. So you see here the back seat is split 60-40. Of course, that's only true with the Max equipment. With the Juha equipment, you can only adjust the entire backrest, which limits customization. To fold down, but it works, you've got even more space, and that's definitely a good thing. After all, the vehicle still offers a towing capacity of up to 550 kilograms. All right, I don't have a caravan attached, but at least a small trailer with a hitch load of 61 kilograms. With the Dacia Spring, some people complained I made fun of the door noise. Still, it's just a classic. Doesn't have to be for everyone, but we'll do it anyway. Yeah, it's a bit tinny, but it actually feels pretty good. I think the price structure is completely fine. But the big question, is there a Frank? No. Even though there would really be quite a bit of space here if we were to consider it thoughtfully and carefully. So you could probably look around the accessory market again and maybe put in some kind of tray here where you can store the cable for charging, for example, so it doesn't clog up the trunk or fly around back there. And closed. When we look at the interior, there are, of course, some things, as you might expect. Of course, this is all hard plastic. It's pretty obvious. But hey, the handles feel great. This part here where you touch with your hands is covered with nice soft fabric that feels very comfortable, ensuring a pleasant experience every time you use it. And be cool. Of course, I'm always super cool. Up here, these buttons and everything, I really like that it's a matte black and not that glossy finish like some others, because you always fiddle with it and then it gets scratched and it just feels, I think it's good. So good buttons, good pressure points. Here's another area, not huge in the door. Then I can fit in a few more things and then we get into the interior. And the very first thing you notice is the detailed craftsmanship. The seat, very important. You definitely want to sit comfortably. And indeed, Citroen has now, if you might have been in the previous C3s, this is now the e-C3. We only make fully electric cars. The rest doesn't concern us, but that one has a story, the C3. And now, in the recent generation, they've installed improved seats with extra foam, making it very nice and comfortable, providing an exceptional level of comfort for all the passengers on board. And I just have to say, I mean, sure, I only have limited time to drive it around, but they are really quite comfortable. And they are available, of course, so the better seats, again, only exactly in the better equipment, in the max equipment. So you definitely get closer to the real thing. I must say the steering wheel is really comfortable, but I'll get inside now and then we'll take a look at everything from the driver's perspective. Oh God, how long has it been since I last turned a key? Most cars work with some kind of chip card, with a phone or when you keep the key nearby. What stands out? It beeps and it has a screen in the center console that's a bit over 10 inches. Of course, it's only available in the max configuration again. And besides this display in the center console, well, Citroen now calls it a head-up display, but let's be honest. Wait a minute, that's really crazy. From some angles, you see it better, sometimes worse. I can tell you, as a driver, you can recognize it. But right here in the front, you have this strip, and it's really good when you're in the driver's seat. So in this position, when you look out here, you don't have to look very far around to quickly see all the important details and things that truly matter in this context. Well, I don't know if you always need to see the battery level and if it's in a park or something and what its consumption is at the moment. But hey, at least the MPH are shown up there. And what's really cool is the steering wheel. I really enjoyed that a lot. It's not round either, but it's flattened up here and flattened down here. And that way, you can always gauge the position of the steering wheel accurately. I just like it. And above all, I can also do it manually in the adjust the height and move in, move out. I think that's really important too. And I have to say, at least in my seating position, I'm 1.87 meters tall for everyone. That's important. That's how I have it adjusted now. Then we'll see right away how it is in the back seat. The good thing is that no matter how I position the steering wheel here, it doesn't block the display in the front, because I always have that when they're in here like this. I find that smart and nicely done at first. As I said, I really like it. You guys have actual buttons here. So here you can press down, then the volume will start to go down, or here, up again. I can skip to the next song or go back to the previous one. And I have to mention this, even while using CarPlay, it's incredibly convenient. So my iPhone is in this case, but it works with Android Auto. Connected wirelessly, so once paired with Bluetooth, I can practically use CarPlay right here directly. I think that's very reasonable. We'll get back to that in a moment. But definitely the good thing is I can use the buttons that I have here on the steering wheel to directly control my CarPlay features. Of course, there's a hands-free system included here. Here I can even, when I press the microphone button, then you see that in the background, bam. Then in this case it goes, Apple then just starts Siri, for example, and can launch it directly without fiddling around on the screen here. And they're real buttons too, they're also nicely matte and all. So this all feels remarkably good. Here are all the great assistance systems. That brings us back to the important point you have repeatedly apologized to. Citroen, that no assistance systems are currently available. One must say the software isn't final yet. Things can still change and hopefully they will get significantly better soon. But we can't test any of the assistance systems here, for example. That's just the way it is. And then we have these nice ventilation slots here. I think they're actually well positioned too. Don't blow into your face. Here to the left again. And what also stands out, which I have to criticize, is that this cockpit is raised quite high, making it hard for shorter drivers to see over properly and adjust to it. So that means when I look out here, I have the roof up there. Here I actually have a somewhat small windshield, which is quite useful, and the cockpit is raised so high there, you must appreciate that. Try to get a first-hand impression. This might change your perspective. I actually think it's really cool, and the good thing is it doesn't practically spoil the panoramic view, but we'll test that again while driving, because driving is really a lot of fun. I can give you a hint. Yes, then we have everything important here. I already showed that in the door. In the center console, there's basically the gear selector here. So I can then simply press either reverse or park and other similar options. That's rather unspectacular. Here's another parking brake. And now I have my phone here, and you can already see only in the full package, in the Max package, there is then a wireless charging pad. Here you see it's already glowing green, and here too, as proof, you can see the phone is charging. That works really great. I also have 2 cup holders here. Here I have a small shelf. It's really just a small, modest one that fits perfectly. There's also another USB-C port, which I already like. And then under this armrest to the side, there's another small compartment to store a few small items. Yeah, it's not spectacular, but it's basically all you need. Glove compartment is in as well. Cameraman is sitting next to me. Everything's great. By the way, when boarding, I can generally tell you that it is, of course, really nice. You generally have a higher driving feel. It's a higher entry. And for those who've had the good fortune to reach an older age, they get to see their families grow and share in the joys of life. Great sentence, but actually a pretty nice story. So, of course, I send lots of love to my mom, who is very keen on the car. So I'm doing the test not just for you and for me, but also for my supportive and encouraging mom. Sending love to you right here. Mom, you're the best. So, and what's also cool is that there's a way to put a smartphone in here, or, stash some gum or whatever. And then that person is happy. And then we have these headrests here. They're really pushing hard on my back right now. I can feel it. That's why you have to put them up here. Then I can actually, and I'm really surprised because you're live with us, practically not even seated yet. My seat is still adjusted for me, 1.87 meters tall. And now I can comfortably sit here without my knees touching the seat or accidentally giving the driver an awkward massage while we are on the way to our destination. That's not the case at all. I really like it. And even in the back, it's really cozy. There are ISOFIX points on the left and right, so you can practically secure 2 child seats here safely. There's also another pocket here. It's really deep. You can even put toys in it. Buried very deep, so that at some point you realize, oh, there was the missing Uno card. Best regards from my daughter. So, and then we actually have 2 USB-C ports here, but those are also only available in the Max trim. Yes, we always have those differences, but there's also a 12-volt socket here. So that means for everyone who says, I don't need it, you really don't need it, you can also put a 12-volt adapter in here. They already come with USB-C and so on. And it essentially also has the USB-C ports. Yes, indeed, there are actually a number of different options for storage in the door available for you to use. Let's give it a try. Oh, by the way, electric window lifter. Of course, in the back, you only get it with the specialized U equipment. Electric front windows are standard, even on the basic model. In the Max trim, right, I always mix them up. So I call it the fully loaded version. You also get electric windows in the back. Of course, this doesn't work now because I obviously took the key out, but yeah, there's really nothing more to tell here in this specific situation. There's even a comfortable headrest installed for the middle seat if someone actually manages to fit there. But there's plenty of room up there. That's surprising to me. I think even my 2-meter cameraman could really find space here. Come on, snuggle in. Can you do it, Max? Oh, your seat is still set for you. 2 meters set on him. Too bad, now I should actually be filming you. All right, that's not going to work. We'll take another quick look at the software. Let's go to the home section. Here, for example, I have my music, Apple CarPlay, navigation. That's actually quite interesting because we'll come back to navigation shortly. Here in the music, since I have now connected my iPhone, in this case, I now have the music selection here. Of course, there's also a radio included. I can add in a few equalizers as well. Make adjustments, and I can say directly the system is really solid, at least in the Max equipment version. I don't know about the basic trim, but it's better than you think. In this price category, I was really positively surprised. Here you have these cables. It will look similar with Android Auto. Works flawlessly. The screen is big enough to reach everything. So I really like that too. And yes, there is actually a proprietary navigation system from Citroen. And now, let's just add for fun, we are currently in Vienna, by the way. And here I have now, for example, set the navigation to Berlin. It's amazingly performant, the navigation system that's built in here. I was surprised at first, so yeah, it does jitter a bit. But for a built-in navigation system in that price range, that's actually still okay. but it doesn't do any planning. Charging stop planning. So I'm not told, hey, you have this much range left, you need to charge here and there, which makes it difficult during long trips. However, he keeps on suggesting new charging stations here. I then took note of that. That means he says something like, in 20 kilometers, you have a 250 kilowatt charger available right here. So it's a navigation system, and overall, that's quite okay, as it guides you accurately. You kind of have to find the charging station yourself while driving. But I would honestly just use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and the right app that supports all your essential functions and preferences. But everything charges wirelessly too, so it's all good. When charging, there's an important pitfall, and I can only say I would recommend everyone to spend another 400 euros. Then you won't have to deal with the typical charger at regular charging stations in various public spaces, at the local supermarket, inside the parking garage, and similar places, etc. You don't just have, it states 7.4 kilowatt charging speed included, but unfortunately it's only single phase, which is kind of disappointing. It's actually a little trick from the manufacturers themselves. So listen to me, it's actually just 3.7 kilowatts. So basically like a household socket. That means if you plug it in completely empty, it takes over 12 hours to recharge. Sure, overnight at home is no problem. But if you ever want to publicly charge at a public charging station, as mentioned, at a furniture store, somewhere at the supermarket, or countless options, then you just want to pay an extra 400 euros for the 11 kilowatt charger, because usually you'll recharge the electric car in just under 4 hours. And why are the 4 hours so important? Because basically all providers have blocking fees after 4 hours when you're charging with a charging card. And that's exactly where you belong. That's absolutely and precisely why it's relatively quick and efficient for us to recharge the battery. By the way, this is an LFP battery, so you can always charge it to 100% and don't have to, like with other batteries, usually charge to only about 80%. So you can utilize the full range. But it really gets good here at the CCS, where the car features a very efficient and speedy fast charger that ensures you spend less time waiting. That's around 100 kilowatts, and I think for that price, it's a decent value for money, considering everything. Yes, the manufacturer really tries again to make it look a little bit nicer, but here you are going to get the most important translations directly from me. The manufacturer claims 20 to 80% fast charging via the CCS connector in 26 minutes. Sounds good because there's a 2 in front, that's what people want to hear. But we have a very clear standard here. We always calculate from 10 to 80%, as all electric car manufacturers should, though some do it differently. Because then it comes out to about 31 minutes, and there's a 3 in front, which doesn't look as good for marketing, but we don't care about that here. Honestly, I'll just say about 30 minutes to charge from 10 to 80%. Is really completely fine, and that for a car in this price range. So I have to say, charging this car is actually fun, and to me it's a vehicle that's not just suitable for the city or as a second car for a bit of driving around the countryside or the city, but you can also drive longer distances with it. I think that's all possible within the time frame. Citroen tried to hide it, but despite efforts, I found one in the corner behind the hotel next to Vines. Found the basic version for you, and now let's take a quick look at it again. You can see it immediately from the outside. I mean, it's all one color, so the roof isn't a different color, which is a matter of taste, I think, but it looks good at first glance. Sure, you get these hubcaps here, right? It's not the highest quality, but I think it's totally solid, dependable, and completely okay for what we need. What I find a bit unfortunate and unnecessary is, for instance, that you can't swap these cool color clips at the back here. This is fixed in here. It's a small detail that I personally find very nice, which isn't very expensive either. They left out. It's really a bit of a shame. So now in the back, instead of electric windows, what we've got is the good old manual crank handle right here. And the inner door panels are different too. I'll show you that right here, if that is possible at this moment. On the driver's side, you can see it quite well. So there's absolutely no nice fabric cover with a flap here, which is somewhat disappointing. And I have to say, of course, as I mentioned, it's a pre-series, but the craftsmanship already seems very straightforward to me. Here, at least, they added another stripe, so it's not just a plain black block. I'll say it like that. It creates some visual interest and makes it stand out more, don't you think? And just when we enter the interior, you can really tell, oh no, look here, I've already sat my butt down on this seat here. But of course, that's a huge difference. They're okay, the seats, I've just tried them briefly while standing here. Unfortunately, we couldn't drive with this version yet, but it's obviously not the comfort of those advanced seats or whatever Citroen will call them later. So, and now we'll take a look at the interior, and what immediately stands out is that the cockpit is really in fact completely different than before. So here I don't get any fabric elements, instead it's all just hard plastic components which make it feel less luxurious. After all, they definitely tried very hard to bring out something genuinely quite nice looking with this particular blue design line. It's quite basic, and well, the display is not included here. So normally there's a phone holder here, and I just place my phone in it to keep it accessible. Then you see that. So, and to make it a bit clearer, I've opened something here, for example. It's not only upward, it also goes sideways and sometimes even diagonally. Then you simply download a Citroen app and you can connect it to your vehicle easily. The good thing is I can also very easily connect the phone right here with a USB-C port. It loads right away. And you can probably use the steering wheel buttons to control things in the app, getting all the important information here. Can't try it out just yet. Yes, you can definitely notice a difference down here as well. Here is basically this climate control element, which I have to adjust manually myself. Yes, it's solid, but I'm still not completely thrilled with the overall build quality and how it feels. That could still change. There is a sort of tray here, but then the phone won't charge wirelessly anymore. And here you have a larger storage area because what's missing here? The center armrest, it's not there either. Here you can see the door again, how it looks different. And it's just really very simple, but not bad or anything like that. But you still get the head-up display, I noticed. It's not turning on right now because there's no key inside. And yes, I find that a bit of a pity because it's a part that you touch very often, inevitably. The steering wheel, unfortunately, doesn't have that premium high-quality feel like in the Max trim, making driving somewhat less enjoyable than expected. Yeah, those are some small differences. Maybe you will notice other differences too. Notice anything else? Write it in the comments. And how far can the box actually go now? Yeah, range is always a crucial topic of discussion. Citroen states something between 300 and 326. Why so imprecise? There hasn't been a homologation yet. I mean, the WLTP range isn't quite clear yet, but it definitely starts with a 3. So 300 kilometers should be possible. And it must also be mentioned, a very important info about electric cars, it always depends on the driving profile. So do I drive on the highway or am I generally more of a sporty or easygoing type? And of course, the outside temperature. Now, I'll go ahead and mention the two most extreme ranges. So the worst range is typically experienced in the harsh winter months on the highways. That brings the vehicle probably to around 200 kilometers. Hey, but the relationship isn't really that bad. It's still quite solid. And in the summer in the city, you can easily get 400 kilometers if you drive through the city sparingly. So I think that's already pretty decent. And if you now say, I don't need that much range anyway, just lower the price a bit more, there's something available there too. Then you wait a bit longer. Starting from the year 2025 onwards, Citroen plans to offer another version with a smaller, more efficient battery. Starting at 19,000 euros, 900 euros, and then with about 200 kilometer range. Yay! Okay, 113 horsepower is really quite fun in this vehicle too. Of course, it's no fair comparison to other insanely equipped electric cars on the market. But hey, for the car in class, it's fine again. You really make quick progress. And hey, I can even hear in Austria, where we are right now, to fully exploit the top speed to get scared on the highway. Because the top speed is then electronically limited to 82 mph. So on the highway, 130 kilometers h. Yes, you really have to say, I mean, you can definitely tell that the whole processing is already quite good and solid without a doubt. But it's all made of slightly thinner material, so you can hear the wind noise, I have to say. So that means it's not top insulated. What are we driving right now? Yes, 92 km/h. However, it must be said, we are also somehow at a very windy spot here. But all this wind noise behind, it's really blowing hard. Sometimes you hear it from the front left. Well, yeah, you kind of have to turn up the volume a bit more to drown out the wind noise, especially on the highway where it gets louder. That's definitely a downside, I have to say. Citroen themselves say, this is the most comfortable vehicle in its class. And I can only say, I am absolutely thrilled with this suspension. That's really, really good. It's not squishy in the corners. That means when I go nicely into the curve, despite the higher seating position and so on, I don't feel like it leans into the curve so much that it becomes uncomfortable and I'm in a rocking boat. But it holds well in the curve, but also on a normal straight road or on a bumpy street, it wonderfully absorbs everything. Well, I'm pretty impressed with this suspension that's installed here. And especially when combined with such incredibly luxurious seats, which unfortunately only come with the Max trim, it really does provide an absolutely awesome and genuinely fantastic overall feeling. This spacious living room, this thicker foam on the comfortable seat, this chair built into the car here, paired with the smooth suspension for a more enjoyable and relaxed ride. So with the car, you can really drive for a long time and have a lot of fun. Very comfortable, I must say. By the way, also the brakes, which I'm not demonstrating here right now. We accidentally got that along the way. Works really well. I had to suddenly slam on the brakes once, which startled me for a moment, or I would have run over a pheasant. That would have broken my heart. And he's still alive, he's happy. Maybe he just got a little bit scared, but eventually it worked. And that way we unintentionally really stress tested the brakes. And I can say they are good. And now, one of my criticism points was that the cockpit is quite high. This naturally gives you a kind of smaller windshield here. However, still, I have to say, the overall visibility isn't totally bad, surprisingly enough, given the circumstances. So I can also manage perfectly fine with the slightly smaller mirrors here on the left and right. Got a good overview. Can look forward solidly. I would wish for something bigger, but it's solid. I can even see out the back really well, so that's good too. So that means I'm not missing anything. Of course, you have to mention that parking always comes with sensors as standard, but only again in the max trim. Perhaps the rear view camera, some might actually desire having that, again, for better visibility when driving. But overall, the higher driving position with all its aspects makes lots of great and exciting fun. I'm just a little bit disappointed by the somewhat weak recuperation. I simply love the one-pedal driving in electric cars. Basically, you just have to press the accelerator for speeding up, and when you let go, the electric motor is used. To delay, I'll go slower, and with this setup, I can actually do everything with just one pedal. This isn't really working, so I'm going to demonstrate it now. It's hard to show, but now I'm going down. Boom. He slows down gradually, but he doesn't come to a complete stop instead. If I now really wouldn't apply the accelerator at all, I won't do that right in the middle of the street. Then he still continues driving at 9 km/h and just rolls on a bit, so I can't let go of the accelerator pedal and slowly stop at the light. I always have to use the brake again and again. It's not a big deal, but I'm earnestly trying to point out all the significant criticisms, including those really minor ones like this, which might not seem crucial individually, but collectively do impact the overall driving experience. That come to mind because otherwise everything's just too positive. For everyone who's saying right now, c'est bon, Video Robin, feel free to give it a thumbs up. I'm super excited about this. The algorithm is happy too, and we want to broadcast the car to the world. And then I come to my conclusion. The Citroen e-C3 is truly the vehicle that we have all been waiting for to transform driving. Hoped for, what we all projected onto him, he must meet huge expectations. Yes, finally a car at a decent price with absolutely no compromises. Well, honestly, I can't really think of a big flaw. Nothing comes to mind where I'd say they should have done that differently. Instead, everything somehow fits together. I'm really excited. I can only recommend to everyone. If you have any interest in the car, go to the dealer. Like I said, starting mid-June, you can take it for a spin. Get your own impression. It's really worth it. And now we're coming to the end. To a very important topic, because Citroen is heavily promoting and saying the Citroen e-C3 is made in Europe, because there's a lot of discussion about it. The Chinese are coming with lots of electric cars, and here we have an electric car that's actually been developed, designed, and made in Europe. But it must also be clearly stated the battery and the battery cells still come from S-Volt in China. It's just one of those things. We are also setting up battery cell production in Europe, but it's not quite there yet. Then maybe one day it might even come from a battery made in Europe. It is possible, and it might still come, but all those who say, yeah, I don't know, I don't want to buy a Chinese car anymore, there are absolutely just some who have such a clear and unmistakable urge to do so, despite everything. And it is genuinely a very good idea, because when you decide to buy such a car, you are supporting the European automobile industry, and I firmly believe it truly needs it. Well, okay, but that's another aspect. I'm glad you were with us. You see, I'm totally happy. I'm going to drive another lap with the car now. And you tune in again very soon here at Robin Television. Au revoir, bonjour, and see you again very soon for more exciting content and information.